So earlier in the week, we started by setting up this Asian aquarium, and all we really got done was the hardscape for it. If you haven't seen that yet, make sure you watch it, because in today's video, we're kind of just picking up where we left off. Now, I actually spent the weekend in New York doing a number of things, including visiting my friend Justin, but more on that in a later video. Today, we need to finish, or at least continue on with plumbing this aquarium. Now, there's only so much we're going to be able to do in today's video. So what I need to do is install the plumbing for the bottom aquarium. Now, the bottom aquarium is actually going to be different from the top aquarium. The top aquarium gets a drain and a return. The bottom just gets a drain. It doesn't get a return through the background simply because this aquarium is draining down to this aquarium. It doesn't go through the background. It just comes over in front of it. So all I need to do is figure out how I'm going to get this overflow through the background. And here's how I figured out the best way to do it. You see, that overflow is going to connect to this 2-inch bulkhead, but you can see through this bulkhead is the background. This drill is going to get stopped by it. But if I center the drill and really just make sure it's completely centered, this is going to be a pilot hole for me. Watch this. Now, because I gave myself a little bit of a pilot hole, all I have to do is take this drill bit, line it up to that hole, start drilling in, and that's going to drill me a perfect 1.5-inch hole that's going to allow me to run the plumbing through it. You see, now when I run my pipe through it, this is a 1.5-inch pipe, it goes right into that bulkhead that we installed earlier and allows me to install this H2O overflow from Custom Aquariums directly onto it. And see how snug of a fit that is. That's going to be perfect. Now I can move this over whichever way I want to have it, as long as it's level, to disguise it a little bit more. But this is perfect. Very easy overflow to install. Now the next thing I'm going to want to do is drill some small, maybe 1/4-inch holes into the middle of the background, trying to hide it in one of the logs. This is going to allow water to pass through the background. When I open a ball valve for the water changing bulkhead that we showed you 6 times already, when I turn that ball valve, water is going to come allowed to be sucked through that bulkhead or the hole in the middle of the tank at the back, but the water needs a way to get through the background, so these holes will allow it to, and when I do that, we can drain half the water for a water change. Now, I know I'm doing a lot of this backwards. For example, I should have installed the background, then worked on the plumbing. The last thing, of course, you're supposed to do is scape the tank, but just due to my timeline and availability of resources and time that I actually have to do this, I have to do it in random orders, which you probably shouldn't do it this way, but I'm going to show you how I do everything anyways. There's also going to be a bunch of debris floating in the tank from drilling through the background. I can either shop vac that up or simply fill the tank up and then skim it out later, because it's all going to float. So the next thing I got to do now is take this 120-gallon aquarium down and install the next background. However, I'm going to have to also install its bulkheads, as well as basically repeat everything I did there. Now, when lifting an aquarium, you might think, okay, I can lift that amount of weight, but just due to its bulkiness and size, it's really advisable that I don't lift it alone. I know I can lift the weight, but I'm probably going to break it because it's going to be awkward and I might drop it. So I'm going to get Gary to come over and help me lift this down. Before we do that, I just want to address one question or one concern I kept getting in the last video, and that is the background upside down? Technically, it is. I installed it this way on purpose. I wanted the roots to come out like this as opposed to come down. Now, arguably it looks good either way. It'd be your preference, and my preference was to have them coming out of the ground to kind of match the stump over here. It also resembles the Waru tank with the roots coming down, and I wanted them to be dramatically different. So I installed it upside down on purpose. Okay, now we can go ahead and install the background. Now, this isn't an aqua decor background. This is actually a universal rocks. It's not as precisionally cut as the aqua decor, not as much detail or coloration, but it's still a pretty decent background. I'm going to install it identically as to the way I installed the aqua decor, which is basically just slide it into place and then silicone it. This one doesn't want to stay put, so I'm gonna have to improvise here. I'll have to use a lot more silicone with this one. There's all kinds of gaps in this one, which is pretty disappointing, but yeah, we can make it work. There's like a 1/4 inch gap all along the bottom. I don't know what they cut this with, but now, luckily there's a big enough gap behind this background so I can get these bulkheads in afterwards. I installed the bulkheads now because I forgot to. I'm just lucky enough that the background has enough room behind it to get my arms in there. So just like the last background, we're gonna find some holes, places to drill a few holes in here for the water change system. And then again, we're gonna come in through the back of the bulkhead here, find the center, and the same over here. Okay, so the overflow as well as the return have now been installed. Now these are a little different than you might have expected previously. The extension that comes on the overflow is supposed to just slide right into the bulkhead, be more flush to the tank, but since we have such a gap in between the background, I had to replace this smaller pipe with a longer PVC pipe that can extend the entire reach of the background. But as you can see here, it just slides right on, and it's pretty flush. Now, one of the things I like about this is that the only thing you see on this overflow is a little bit of the bottom elbow. This here is actually hidden by the trim, so it ends up looking really nice. With the top tank back up in place, I can go ahead and drill through the side of the stand here to accommodate the future wave makers. One of the things that I want to do before I move on to plumbing is I know that this tank is going to be pulled out for a couple of days as I plumb the tank and get the filtration system running, equipment installed and whatnot. And those 2 days, I don't want to waste any time. Now that I don't have to move the aquarium out anymore, I figured I'm going to fill the aquarium up by a couple of inches, just enough to kind of almost submerge the roots so that I can get a head start on sinking them because I know they're going to float. I'm going to go ahead and weigh down a few of them just to jump the gun. I think that they're going to float. The log is clearly probably not going to float, but a couple more inches of water, completely submerge them, give me the opportunity to actually sink them in advance, because the plumbing's probably going to take a couple of days and I actually have to run out now to grab more plumbing supplies. Last night we began this and today we're kind of wrapping up and you guys are supposed to see this video today. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. I also like to thank you for watching, and if you join me in a couple of days, I think we'll get this wrapped up.